Hey you guys, this is Sean McCleary out of Naples, Florida, and I wanted to post a video on YouTube on some of my work in metaphysics. My primary focus is on the paradigm shift, which has to do with the evolution of planet Earth and the human race and what's going on with consciousness and energy here and how everything's going to be affected. It's also called the shift in consciousness. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about that. There's a broad range of topics that I work on that deal in the human condition, and something that I've been working on for quite some time is what happens with the phenomenon of death. When the phenomenon of death occurs, what actually happens to a human being? And I've discovered through my research and my writing that the phenomenon of death is actually the evolution of consciousness, and I'll explain that, and it's not that difficult to understand. The four primary elements that the universe contains that facilitates the growth and expansion of everything is consciousness, light energy, dark energy, and pressure. The universe is full of light energy and dark energy, of course, and it's very visible. When these two come together, because they're polar opposites, they create expansion and acceleration, and that's why the universe is expanding. Human beings that live, human beings on planet Earth absorb and retain light and dark energy through day and night, through the 24-hour rotation of planet Earth. Every living organism here, including planet Earth itself, retain and absorb light and dark energy, which creates pressure and which creates expansion, which means that consciousness and energy are continuously evolving here. When a human being, and I want to say this, is that something that I talk about, that I've written about a lot, that I understand a lot more, is called the Higgs field. The Higgs field is universal consciousness and energy, and the universe has to have a consciousness. I mean, it has to have consciousness and energy because life form, matter, anything that's introduced into evolution has to be conceptualized by consciousness and energy first for the purpose of intelligent design, so infinity can continue to carry on. When a human being is introduced into the environment here on planet Earth, their bodies contain consciousness, light energy, dark energy, and pressure. Like I said, those are the four primary elements. And a human being contains, and you might have heard it before, that you contain everything that the universe has in it, and that's the truth. So anyway, a human being comes into Earth's environment, contains these four primary elements. They go through their life cycle, and through the process of day or night, what happens is a human being is absorbing light energy and dark energy. It creates pressure in the body, and they go through the 24-hour period, and the pressure is released. A lot of that pressure is released actually during the sleep cycle. What's interesting is what causes somebody to go into the sleep cycle is if you wake up, say 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, you start retaining and absorbing light energy. And nighttime hits, it gets dark in different areas, different regions of the world at different times. But, say nighttime starts hitting around 7 or 8 o'clock, and dark energy, starts transferring into planet Earth's environment and atmosphere. Well, it transfers into people too. When that dark energy starts transferring in the body, it creates pressure, and that pressure restricts itself around and within the central nervous system, which slows neurotransmitter activities, and that's due to pressure. So what happens is with that is somebody enters into the sleep cycle, and because the body's at rest, it releases a lot of pressure, and they start, the process all over again the next day. Human beings, they start out as an embryo, and then a fetus, and then an infant, early childhood development, adolescence, early adulthood, late and then late adulthood. And the reason that a human being actually grows is because they're expanding and accelerating because of light and dark energy. So what happens is when somebody, and I'm going to talk about the phenomenon of death that I'm talking about, is part of what I'm referring to as a natural evolutionary process of old age. What happens is when somebody hits, I guess around 70 years old or so, it varies with different people. There's different traits in the body that are affected, but I can, around 70, 65, 70 years old, some maybe a little younger, you can notice on a human being that wrinkles start appearing, and the reason that wrinkles start appearing on human beings at that age is because the body is unable to retain the amount of pressure that it was able to at a younger age. And the reason that is because a person is getting ready to start their evolutionary process and transfer into existence. The whirlpool galaxy is the next stage of evolutionary development for human beings, when human beings transfer, and that's where God's home is. You might be familiar with the cross that's located in the middle of the whirlpool galaxy. If you haven't, you can Google that whirlpool galaxy cross, and that was taken by the Hubble telescope. And human beings transfer through the Higgs field there, and they transfer into the whirlpool galaxy. And like I said, enter into the next stage of evolutionary development, to a very advanced stage of evolutionary development. One of the reasons is the Higgs field, and you might have heard the term Higgs boson, which makes up the Higgs field, or the term God particle. The Higgs field has all the information contained within the universe about all life form, because it introduces all life form into the universe. So the Higgs field has all the information contained within it about the human anatomy, the human structure, and when somebody transfers away from planet Earth, they are transferring through the Higgs field into a more advanced state. And so the Higgs field actually takes care of that part of their evolution, and I'll get to that here in a second. So a human being goes through their life cycle, and I know that most of you are familiar with the term subconscious energy. The body the entire body is comprised of consciousness, because it was created, out of consciousness from a human body, from the male and the female. So the human body is itself is in its entirety is consciousness and energy. So when a person enters into the elderly stage of their life, and their body starts experiencing degeneration because they're unable to retain that certain amount of pressure, subconscious energy, which is actually energy and pressure that's stored within different regions of the body, start transferring out of the body. And that gets the person ready for the next stage of evolution. The reason that pressure starts transferring out of the body is because the Higgs field that people are attached to, and like I said, people contain light energy and dark energy, and so it creates pressure and pushes the Higgs field away from the body in an extremely powerful way. But as a person ages, their subconscious energy, which is actually their memories, it's their past life, it's everything that they remember, and that's one of the reasons why some elderly people, reminisce a lot. They talk about their past, they talk about their experiences with their family and their friends and their occupation. The reason that is because their subconscious energy is transferring out of them. Now that subconscious energy consists of pressure and energy. So that pressure is transferring out of the body. And so what that's doing is the Higgs field is actually starting its development process to transfer into the body when the human being experiences the phenomenon of death. As a person ages and they go through this process, what happens is when they get ready to transfer into existence and they experience, and I say the phenomenon of death, because of my work, and everything, I discovered that death is a natural part of evolution. So what happens is when somebody experiences that, their subconscious energy transfers out of them. And you probably heard that saying before, that somebody's had a near-death experience or something very traumatic happened to them, where they felt like they were facing death and their life flashed before their eyes. What that is it's subconscious energy that transfers very quickly out of them, and that's why they're able to see their past and their life and everything. So the person, the individual experiences the phenomenon of death, and the Higgs field, what it does is the pressure is released from the body, the subconscious energy is released from the body, And the Higgs field, as I said before, it contains all the information about the human anatomy, and they're going into a stage of a higher advanced development. So actually, universal consciousness and energy takes care of their body for them. So people that have like different kinds of issues with their bodies, like being handicapped or being blind or being deaf, and any type of disability that people might have, when they transfer away from planet Earth, the Higgs field takes care of that for them. It develops their body into a more advanced stage. So when somebody experiences that, the death itself, and they start transferring through the Higgs field, consciousness and energy transfer much faster than the speed of light. That's the only thing that transfers through existence faster than the speed of light is consciousness and energy, and it has to facilitate to facilitate the process of evolution. So I'll use an example, like, so human beings can transfer into existence. So what happens is when somebody transfers into existence, you've heard people talk about near-death experiences, and they see a tunnel with a light. And what that tunnel is actually is their consciousness is transferring so quickly, because the whirlpool galaxy is light years and light years and light years away from here. But it is the fifth dimension. We reside. Planet Earth is in the third dimension. And so what happens is because their consciousness and energy is transferring faster than the speed of light, and it has to actually, because someone couldn't transfer at the speed of light and head towards the whirlpool galaxy or the fifth dimension. It would create way too much mass. And so that's why consciousness and energy transfer faster than the speed of light. It creates a wormhole. That's the tunnel that people describe, that have had near-death experiences. And the peace, you've heard before that people talk about the feeling of peace, and that everything is all right and it's perfect and in the most powerful way. And the reason is because people lose their fear of death. The fear of death is contained within the human body, and that's the most powerful. That is the most powerful form of fear that a human being contains, and that's one of the primary reasons why the human body contains so much pressure, is because of the uncertainty, the fear of death. And so people lose that when they experience and go through the phenomenon of death, and their consciousness is advancing, the Higgs field advancing. The Higgs field is taking care of that process for them, and they know that they are eternal in that transition that they are making. So they know they're eternal. They're at peace. They lose the fear of death, and they transfer through the wormhole and into the fifth dimension, which is the next stage of the development process. So I wanted to share that with you guys and everything, and tell you that I'm going to continue working on my work and my research in metaphysics, and introducing more of my conclusions on YouTube. So anyway, I've got a video called UFO Roswell Area 51. I discovered the truth behind that. So anyway, you guys have a good one, and peace out.